Yeah, I got the Christmas lights set up on the desk. I get real seasonal this time of year. I put like the
You got a
orange
tree?
lights for Halloween. Yeah, I got everything downstairs. Like, and I opened up
Word.
my blind so that everybody can see in and see all the Christmas stuff, just to let everybody know, that I'm festive.
Yeah,
So,
just what time it is, literally. What time of the
yeah.
year, right?
I even
No.
go as far. I had a friend make fun of me because I have a fall festival candle. Like, I'm just a basic white bitch. I light up my fall candle, when it's this time of year, and it just kind of really gets me in my zone.
Yeah.
So it's
I,
it's good to have.
I respect it, but no tree over here. Straight Scrooge over here. I mean, when it
Really,
comes
you
to
don't have
like
anything set up at all?
uh I mean, no. I have lights year round. Like my whole backyard is lit up with like those string lights, so it's pretty illuminated back there. But as far as seasonal decorations, yeah, it creeps up on me, and then like next thing I know it's Halloween, next thing I know it's Christmas, next thing I know it's I don't
Yeah,
know
and
any
you're like,
summer
why
holidays
put it
for
up?
decorating
Because it's like the
because it's
next
going to
one's right
come
around the
down.
corner. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
So I could
fair.
leave them up year round or nothing. So I just leave lights up year round pretty much.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Sorry for the hiatus. You know how we are with our schedule.
Sorry for the wait. Is that what you meant?
Sorry for the
Yep.
wait. Sorry for the wait too. Actually, this is the second time. This is totally biased music. I'm your host Blake, and Christian had an emergency, so he's not here. And so we have our faithful fill-in, one of our best friends, music connoisseur Anthony, who was in the last episode. So if you're listening to these back to back, for you it may be a couple minutes. For us, it was 3 weeks. But Anthony's back to save us. So thanks, Anthony, once again for
Hey,
coming in.
I'm always ready. I mean, this is something that take a lot of pride in as far as talking music. And again, any excuse to do it, call me up. I'm in. So
Hell
thank
yeah.
you.
So today, we are reviewing The Carter 2 by Lil Wayne in a brief Apple Music intro. Lil Wayne's fourth solo album, The Carter, woke the hip hop world up. They'd long known who he was, but that project forced traditionalists who'd previously dismissed him as the Wobble D guy to acknowledge that he'd also somehow become extremely good at rapping. That transformation hadn't happened overnight. The people most in shock had missed the woodshedding Wayne had done over the course of 7 Squad Up mixtape and his The Drought 1 and 2 in the prefix releases. But even as the Carter pushed him to a new level of acclaim, the album was unable to crown him the rap's ruler, a title he was sure he'd have by then already earned. So he did it himself on the Carter 2 with Best Rapper Alive. So Anthony, avid Lil Wayne fan. It's nice to talk to another huge Lil Wayne head. I was posting ridiculous amounts of Lil Wayne on my Instagram story
I could
recently, and
see.
we were going back and forth. So before we get into the Carter 2, let's just talk about just Lil Wayne as a whole for
Wayne.
a little bit. Like, what are your favorite projects? Are you a mixtape guy, an album guy? Like, I don't know. Just tell us a little bit about what you think.
Yeah. So great question, by the way, because I've never thought about it differently because the way that I took it in was just such an onslaught of audio. So it was like anything featuring Wayne, anything that he put out, mixtape wise, album wise, featuring on other people's tracks. I was like, give it to me. And I think Wayne was probably like a huge influence on me finding music. I think that was like such a prime time of internet savviness for me, and just the sheer amount of shit he put out there, it was like I couldn't get enough of it. So like, but to your question, I think mixtapes are definitely what kept me going. I
Yeah.
was always looking forward to the next studio album, but it wasn't like I wasn't foaming at the mouth because we had all this mixtape content to just sort through. And I loved how he would take, I mean, not even just samples, like the tracks from other artists and rap over them or rhyme over them. So it was like a whole nother way for me to digest music that I already loved from other artists and hear it through his lens.
Yeah.
So it never got old to me. Um, it still doesn't get old. So that's why this was such a fun nostalgia listen for me, because I don't even know if I've ever listened to this album as a whole, because it was just such there were so many chunks that were so notable and so impactful to me that I would always listen to them. But listening to it all the way through was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, man. Like, he really is, like, he's the mixtape king. Like, there's not a single rapper that has the Wayne has a discography inside his discography, right? Like all of the tapes that he
Right.
dropped in between all of those major projects, and like, you know, and once the Carter 3 dropped, I always tell people nobody will ever be 2008 to 2010 Lil Wayne. That guy was
Mhm.
everywhere. And like it was like
Yeah.
every single song, every single artist had a Lil Wayne feature. In 2009, he dropped No Ceilings, arguably his best mixtape. I think a lot of people will say it's his best mixtape. And it's been fun, like that iPod Touch I have, that when you sent me all that music on a hard drive, I loaded up an iPod with just mixtapes that aren't on streaming and will probably never be on streaming. And so the past couple of weeks, I've just been going back and listening to like The Drought 3 and Dedication 2 and No Ceilings and Sorry for the Wait, like just all
Yeah.
the OG mixtapes. And it's just, like
Mhm.
you said, it's so much content. Like it never fucking ends, you know?
No, and like and just like when you think, okay, like he's probably, knocked off all of his bases. Like he started doing collaboration mixtapes, with Birdman and Currency and Jules Santana, and just like, and those were back then. I'm sure he's still doing them now, but like back then it was kind of unheard of because people want, I think there was such an ego thing when it came to hip hop, but like he would feature on other people's tracks and that would blow them up. I mean, Drake is
Yep.
a big byproduct of that. I think all of Young Money, even there was a Young Money mixtape that was fire, and like I'm thinking back now because I just haven't listened to it in a while, but like that stuff still resonates. It still hits, and like when you play it on even though we were getting files from Dat Piff and live mixtapes and Hot New Hip Hop and all these other sources that were probably like lower tier quality, it still bangs, even
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though it may not be the best pristine file, it still hits on any system.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Dat Piff. Honestly, man, I
Yeah.
downloaded so many mixtapes off of Dat Piff, dude, and
Hmm.
it was cool. That was a cool era of hip hop music, like just artists putting out. I mean, MGK when he was still a rapper and he wasn't making Blink 182 music, you know, a ton of his mixtapes were on Dat Piff, and like that was just a cool platform for people to go on and discover new things. And they would have, you could search Lil Wayne and they would have a page of just every mixtape and you could just download and just run
Yeah.
through them.
Hmm.
It's funny that you say that he kind of platformed people, because I always tell people, I'm Not a Human Being, that album he has is one of his
Yeah.
weaker albums, but like I think the whole reason he made that album was to platform Drake. Drake features on, I think there's like
Hmm.
10, 12 songs, and Drake's on like 4 or 5 of them. And that was right before Drake had come on to the scene with his debut um, album, Thank Me Later. So I think it's cool
Right.
that he takes a lot of pride in the people that are associated with Young Money, and him and like the collaborative mixtapes. Him and 2 Chainz just put out another College Grove album, so they have
Oh,
two together, and it's cool to just see him still doing everything that he does. You know, it's a blast. Um, but getting into the Carter too. So let's see, 2005. How old were you in 2005?
so I was 14 when this came out, and something that I had to do the math on today because I was just curious. I was like, well, how old was Wayne when this shit came out? And it turns out he's 23 years old. And I try to compare myself
It's
to
fucking
23-year-old
crazy.
me. It's insane, and that's after a successful album prior to this, and then to come out with it, just calling it the Carter 2, it's a ballsy move. But yeah, I remember listening to this one, and I guess it must have been middle school. Yeah, middle school football, probably burning CDs. So I probably didn't have the whole album. I probably just had, the singles
Bits and
and some
pieces,
other
yeah.
tracks. Yeah, but shit, it was rocking. 14-year-old Anthony was
Yeah.
getting into this, no doubt, no doubt. How
It's
old were
funny
you?
because so I that's funny that you mentioned that, because that was kind of my trajectory for the Carter 3, which is like I mean the Carter 3 arguably I think is my favorite hip hop album of all time. I think the only ones that are
Yeah.
close are Ready to Die and the Eminem Show, but I was 14 and when the Carter 3 came out, so I missed like the Carter 2 drop. I missed completely. So Carter 3 is what brought me into Wayne, and then it was kind of like a backtrack, like we talked about the other week, like trying to go
Right,
back and listen to everything else. But nah, there's no chance my parents were letting me to listen to hip hop in 2005. I mean, I was
right,
fucking
right.
10. So,
Hmm.
but it was funny. Like I remember Carly picking me up from somewhere. Like I was golfing or something when I was a kid with a friend of mine, and she picked me up, and the Carter 3 had just come out and she was listening to it in her car. And I remember her playing a Millie and being like, what is this, dude? This is fucking awesome.
It's too good.
So,
Too good.
Yeah. Well, upon re-listen, what did you think? What was your overall consensus of the album before we get into the top tracks?
Yeah. So, dude, it was exactly what I had remembered and what I wanted it to be. You know, it's of course lyrics on lyrics on lyrics, and back then, probably 14-year-old me, I probably wasn't even. I'm trying to think of. There was a website, A to Z Lyrics. I remember definitely utilizing that, but I don't think to the point of now where like I can listen to it in real time and read lyrics, you know, off of my phone and understand the lyrics with like a mature mind. That was something that was really interesting to me because there's so many. I mean, he's the reference god. I mean, he's pulling out
Yeah.
Warren Sapp and you know Peyton Manning and all these magic. He references Magic Johnson and Kareem by number. 33 and 32. I mean, it's like there's so many layers to this that it's like it's still so much fun to listen to it because it's hard in one sitting to take in all of it because it's just overwhelming. Yeah. But like, man, it still delivers. So I was very pleased with going back to it.
Yeah, and I think one thing I forget about this album is there's 22 tracks on this album. I mean, three of them are skits, so really 19 tracks. But like, you're right, man. There's just something about going back and listening, and it's so like the departure. It's funny to listen to the Carter 2 and the Carter 3 and see such a stark difference in those two albums to me. Not that like he didn't lose any skill. If anything, he gained skill going into the Carter 3, but the Carter 2 felt like, I'm going to come out here and make an album to prove like I know who the fuck I am as a rapper. And there are multiple songs on here that there's no hook, there's no chorus. It's just him rapping straight, whether it be 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. And that album now, like going back and listening to it, and there's constantly times where I learn shit about like what Lil Wayne is saying. Like there's a line in Three-Peat that, for you know, and I love Three-Peat off the Carter 3, but there's a line in there that's a fucking Jay-Z line from one of Jay-Z's first albums, and I didn't even know that until like recently, up until like a year ago. And it's like you're just constantly learning things about how he twists and plays on words, and it's just this. It was a journey listening to this front to back. Like you said, it's a lot of hip hop.
It is, you know, and I think there's a lot of lines in this album, at least that stuck out to me, that I think he used as a launching point, like don't be surprised if she asks where to cash at. That line from I forget exactly which track, but like there's probably 20 other songs from the future, you know, the reference of this album moving forward, probably like 20 or so songs that he might just use that line and just go off on it, you know, in so many different tangents. There's a lot of like, I wonder, you might know this. Would you say like the lighter flick, the you know, intro to Fireman, was this the first time he did that? And then moving forward made it like a staple kind of thing, like lighting a blunt in the studio?
If it wasn't the first time he did it, which it probably is, but if it wasn't the first time he did it, it was the first time that he did it on a track that had this level of mainstream success. I mean, Fireman is like, that song is fucking huge, dude. And it's timeless. Like everybody loves that song. So I think that kind of was the starting point of that. But yeah, you know, it's funny. There was a, yeah, do it. Hit it.
Oh, I tried doing it earlier. So let me see. I almost lit my mic on fire multiple times. No, I just want to see if it picks up. So tell me if you hear it.
Yep, there you go.
Okay. All right, good. Use that as your intro right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I was like, Wayne has a podcast, or he did have a podcast or some radio show or something. And this was a while back, probably 2 years ago. Eminem called in on it and they were just shooting the shit. Like they're good friends. And Eminem was saying that like when he writes music, he has to Google, or Wayne was saying that he has to Google if he said it before because he doesn't remember if he said it. And Eminem was like, yo, I was doing that shit the other day. He's like, when I go to type in my phone, EM, it pops up Eminem lyrics. Because he has to determine if he said it before, which is so fucking funny. Well,
there was something to it might have been when Wayne either went into jail or came out of jail. damn, I can't remember the track. Is it 100 bars or something bars?
Yeah.
Where he's like ripping pages out. He's like just getting
Yep.
all this shit that he had written down out of
No, it's
there.
10,000 bars.
10,000 bars. That's it. Yeah. To where he's like, and it's long as fuck. You're going to find out how long it is.
Yeah.
But I think it was like a cleansing, you know, like a purge of everything he's written down to say from here on out, it's off the dome.
Yeah.
And that was something
34 minutes.
Yeah, it's fucking, it is a trip. And I might listen to that after this if I got the time. But like, that is something that has always stuck out to me, is just, yeah, his constant lyricism and references that are timeless. But like, yeah, I can imagine trying to think back of shit that you have said or trying to problem solve and figure out in real time. Yeah, you gotta thank goodness for the internet now, right?
Yeah. When you sent me, what was it on your iTunes library? How many days of Lil Wayne was it?
It was yeah, and these are just the tracks that he is the, I guess, the main artist. But yeah, 2.1 days of Wayne audio.
Over 48 hours.
Yeah, you get stuck somewhere and he will still be speaking to you, you know, multiple days on end.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, that's the thing though. I wish I could do the math on audio that I have that he is featured on. So like a lot of times he would feature on artists' tracks, but he would be the, like, what is the term in like a marathon or the race where you hand the baton off? What's that?
You hand the baton, like the anchor.
Yeah, the anchor. He would be the anchor of the track, to where like you would get the main artist and another feature, and then he would just bring it home and just crush it every time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that audio out there too.
All right, so the Carter 2 top 3 tracks. What do you got? This is really hard for me, so I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Very hard too. So I'll start with number 1. It's Fireman. Dude, Fireman is just such a killer track. And when I listened to it again today in the car, just 2 seconds in, I'm getting chills. And that is something that, again, it's such just the siren sound, the siren sample in the background. It's such a distinct sound, but it's not overpowering at all in this track. So it's such a beautiful blend between that sample and, of course, his flow is just smashing. So
yeah.
Fireman number 1, that's a given. Now, from here on out, it got real difficult, but I decided to go with number 2, Best Rapper Alive. I mean,
nice.
that track
Classic.
is so much. It's so fun because, one, he's putting it out there. You can't fuck with me. You can't fuck with Wayne. Yeah. But the way it's done is so beautiful because his rhymes lead into the hook of, you know, Best Rapper Alive. Who? Best Rapper.
Yep.
And it balances so well. I love how he does that, where he'll rap to himself and then complement that rap with whatever hook he's got set up in the track. And it's so nice because it's just such a back and forth flow. So that's number 2. Number 3, Hit 'Em Up. I really like that track. I've always liked that track, and ask me why. It's really hard to put a finger on it, but there's a smoothness to that track that is just so not, it sticks out to me amongst, I mean, there's a lot of tracks on this album that kind of are out of different ballparks, but Hit 'Em Up was like a smooth ride for me. And it still felt good. But I do want to do 2 we'll do honorable mentions.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, all right. I want to hear yours. Let's go with yours.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so very first track is The Mob intro track. Fucking comes out, guns blazing, 5 minutes, no hook, just straight bars. Yeah. It's like exhausting to listen to this song almost, but it's like so good. And there's a line. This is gonna be kind of long, but he just doesn't stop, so I gotta read it out. He says, I ain't going nowhere special, I won't ever leave. Shit, I'm already a legend if I ever leave. Can't get rid of me, not little me. Man, I got him, I'ma get him, B. I'm hungry like I didn't eat. I want it like I didn't see a meal before 17. What the fuck you people telling me? You pups can't keep up with the pedigree. Catch me where the weather be, somewhere in the 17s. Call myself settling, palm trees, promethazine. Like, just fucking machine gun fucking fire with the way that he delivers it. And the whole song is like this. It just doesn't stop for 5 minutes and 20 seconds. And I love the fact that I think the way the Best Rapper Alive like is a statement. The Mob is a statement of like, you guys better strap the fuck in for whatever is about to play next. because
It's a
this is
warning,
gonna
pretty
be
much.
this is gonna be some serious shit. So
Fuck
I
yeah.
love that song. Second, Fireman, obviously, and
Yeah.
my favorite. When Christian and Trey were telling me that PL was playing Wayne before his New Orleans shows, and I knew that he was gonna sample Wayne, but all I wanted more than anything, and I told Trey and Christian this, is I wanted him to sample my favorite line in the song, and it's when he says, "No shirt, tattoos, and some war wounds." That fucking bar is so hard, dude. And like it's like you said, like we talked about earlier, that song is just classic. It never gets old. It like the chills instantly as soon as it starts, and just everything about it, man. It's a perfect single, really, for the
Yeah.
album. Encompasses it's got a chorus, a great chorus. It's catchy, but when he's rapping the verses, it's like it's serious fucking music. So, obviously, Fireman, and then we'll get into honorable mentions because I have a ton of them. But the third song to me is "Fly Out," the last song on the
Fuck
album.
yeah.
It's like it's another just no chorus, no hook. I'm just gonna rap, and the beat is like I don't know how to explain the beat for "Fly Out." It's like it's kind of ominous in a way. It's very hard. It's very basic. There's that high pitched piano kind of overlaying the drum track in it. Super simplistic, but the way that he raps on it, just 2 minutes 25 seconds. I'm gonna send it off. Goodbye. Take what you will from the album, and I think it's just the intro and the outro are perfect for the rest of the album. But it was hard, man. There's so
Yeah.
many good songs. Like I just don't. But those are definitely my top three. So let me hear your honorable mentions
Well,
now.
it's interesting because of what you were saying about the mob. Like the mob did feel like a welcome to the Carter, kind of feel. And then it goes into Fly In, and then the album ends with Fly Out. And I didn't recognize it the first listen through, but because there's so much in between. But you go back and listen to Fly In and Fly Out, it's the same track. So
Yep.
it's like the same samples. So it's like this big bookend to the Carter, and the mob kind of sets itself aside and says, welcome to what you're
Yeah.
about to get into. But yeah, I love those tracks. So the honorable mentions I have are just two tracks, but Hustler Music, uh, that
Yes.
hustler, it's just
Yeah.
so good. And then Grown Man is a track I didn't listen to a lot back then, but I only got it probably in my library when I was in high school because somebody else had me look it up. So I looked it up, found it, listened to it, and listening to it, back or again for this podcast, I really enjoyed it. So I said I'm gonna at least make sure I put that out there. That Grown Man is fucking fire. But there's
Yeah.
there's a ton. There's a ton you can mention. So let's see what you got.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Currency's on that album. Wayne is a big, like you said, he was a big platformer for Currency, and I like Currency a lot. Currency,
Yeah.
I think, is a very acquired taste, and to me, Currency is like Wiz Khalifa before Wiz Khalifa. Like
I could
had
see.
that whole same kind of mentality, style of rap, huge stoner rap type of guy. Like, and there's actually a great track with Wiz and Currency, Rooftops, which is
Oh
off of
fuck
Rolling
yeah!
Papers, which is an amazing fucking song. I go back and listen to it every once in a
Do
while.
that in the future. Put that on the list
Yeah,
because
a
that's a good
hundred
one.
percent.
I
Yeah.
love it.
But yeah, Currency is great. That is a really good song. And it is funny that you say that about Fly In and Fly Out because it's almost like he had planned to make the album start with Fly In and end with Fly Out, and then he made the mob and was like, I gotta put this somewhere.
Hold on.
Yeah, let me just throw it at the beginning to let people know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So some other honorable mentions. Best rapper alive, fucking amazing. Wheezy Baby, I really love the beat for Wheezy Baby and um Hustler Music. Like they kind of have this, and Grown Man, honestly, like they
Yeah.
all kind of have like a lighter feel to them, which I like in an album that's like so heavy.
Right.
But Shooter with Robin Thicke. Okay, we got to talk about this.
Okay.
This song, first off, Robin Thicke is a fucking weirdo. I think we've all established that. But like, without putting the futuristic lenses on it, like when it came out, I think their back and forth is really really great. Um, and I love. There's a point where Wayne is kind of rapping slow throughout the entire song, but then at like the apex of it, towards the end, He says, "Socks soaking wet, I've been running, y'all. I reload every 100 yards. I'm coming forward. Better know me, Lil Wayne. Just call me Lord. Hard, take pain like Tylenol. Raw, way past far. Wait, way past far. I'm some shit you never saw. I'll take you to the shootout, baby. Win, lose, or draw." But the way that he says it in the song is like, he's been riding it real slow the entire time, and then it gets to this climax, the beat gets to this climax, and he just unfucking loads for just this quick verse, and it just plays so well. And I think Robin Thicke has a great part in that song too. As much as I don't want to shout out Robin Thicke, I kind of have to give credit where credit's due. So
I get it.
But yeah, those are. I mean, but like the rest of the album, you'll see when we get to the bottom tracks, like the rest of the album I could fucking throw on there too. Like there's not a lot of bad songs. So Speaking of which, let's try to transition into bottom tracks. You can go first.
Yeah. So like in thinking on this, Wayne is undeniable. I think for this entire album, he's undeniable. If you just had acapellas of his vocals, it would be fire regardless. So that's how I kind of determined my bottom tracks, was basically going off of the samples or the backing tracks that annoyed me. So
that's fair.
It is fair until you hear that Shooter is on that list, because that Shooter sample, that shooter, I can only do so much of. I can only do so much of that. So that's one. Another one is Mo Fire. I would love the idea of Wayne doing.
Really?
Here's the thing, because I love the idea of Wayne doing a reggae dub track on an album, especially in 2005. But it under delivered, and it could be because it's right after Fireman that the bar is so high after that I'm like, if you're gonna call it Mo Fire, it's like it just gets conflicted there, because like I want it to be sick as fuck, and like I think looking back, he probably could look at it and say, all right, let's flip this shit on its head now. But so Shooter and Mo Fire, and then I'm a D-Boy, for the reason of the back sample that's just looping, and it's distracting to me. But
no, it's fair.
Like I said, I love this album, and it's hard to nitpick at it. But if I'm going to do it, that's the way I'm going to do it, is see what samples I could do without.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair, and it's hard. Like you said, it's so like he's so good, and like you can't take. It's hard to take anything from Wayne throughout the whole album. Like it's hard to take. You can't really take from his lyricism. You can't take from the way that he flows on every song. Like you can't take away from his cadence. So you have to look for something. You know,
production's good.
Yeah, exactly. Which is something that I was kind of similar in that. So my first one, Lock and Load. Corrupt does the chorus, not chorus thing, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like it I understand it's supposed to be a chorus.
Rhyme.
Yeah, but it just feels like the chorus feels super lazy, and it sucks because like the beat on Lock and Load is so great, but then you have Corrupt going Lock and Load, like the whole fucking vibe of it is just weird to me. So I had to put Lock and Load on there. Also, I gotta say, I'm skipping the skits. I'm not counting them as songs, because that would be the easy way out, is just pick the 3 skits on here. So the second one, I'm a D-Boy. Look, man, whatever credit he's owed, I'll give it to him for the franchise he set up. But Birdman. I just don't like Birdman, dude. I don't like when he inserts himself, and there's a song, there's 2 songs. There's a song on Take Care and a song on Nothing Was the Same by Drake, where Birdman comes in at the end, and he's not rapping, but he's not rapping. He's like talking over the end of the track, but he's rhyming. Like it's really fucking strange, and he does this a lot. And I just wish Birdman would just fuck off and let people do what they're supposed to do. Like I don't need you inserting yourself into these tracks. So that was a no for me. And then I don't know, man. I hate to pull a Trey here, but like I don't have anything else.
No, that's it.
I really don't. Like it's just those 2, because going back and listening to the album as a whole, I think I didn't realize how much I like this album. I don't think I realized how many of the songs, like it just, I just let it play. Like front to back, I was driving around a shit ton on my off days, and like every song that popped up, like the front half of this
Yeah.
fucking album is so like the mob all the way down to the best rapper alive. That's 7 tracks. It's like
Yeah.
there's no skips. You could look at Lock and Load and say, okay, maybe it's a skip, but then Oh No, Grown Man, Hit 'Em Up, Carter 2, all great songs. Like
Yeah.
I don't. It's just a very complete album to me. So it was tough, man.
Yeah, and speaking on Birdman, I would be curious to know more details about his involvement in the success of Wayne. And I've heard lore and I've heard stuff being rapped about, but like I would love a legit breakdown into that dynamic between the two, because when you have a respected artist like Lil Wayne who shouts out Birdman endlessly, I there's got to be something there, and I would definitely be curious to know that. Maybe not so much as far as on the adding vocals to tracks part of it, but I would be curious to
Yeah,
know. But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
dude, this album hits.
Well, and they went through like a they went through a really weird period where it was the when the Carter 5 was about to come out, where, and I don't know the details of it. I did when I was, because this happened around the time that I graduated college, and I didn't have anything better to do at the time, so I was very invested into it. And the Carter 5, for some reason, Birdman like wouldn't allow the Carter 5 to come out.
Yeah,
I don't remember the entire details, and so Sorry for the Wait 2, that whole album or that whole mixtape is a fuck Birdman mixtape. Like
yeah,
there's a shit ton. There's a lyric in there that's my CMB days are dead. I married him. I'll be divorced. All that shit's dead without me, of course. Nothing a zombie, a corpse. Like there's a bunch of shit in there that's like anti-Birdman, anti-Cash Money rhetoric. And I know that they patched things up later, but there was some weird shit going on around that time. Like there was a shooting at Wayne's home, or police raided Wayne's home, or something to that degree. Like there was a
or
lot
tour
of weird
bus
shit
too.
going on
Yeah,
there. Yeah, and so I think like I don't know. I know they're cool now, but it's hard when I gotta imagine that like Birdman, from Birdman's standpoint, you created an artist that arguably, not even arguably, that is 10 times bigger than you ever were or
right.
ever will be. Like Lil
Yeah,
Wayne is Lil Wayne for a period of time was a household name. Everybody knew who Lil Wayne was. He's honestly, it's like Drake is now. As much as I don't, Drake will never be Lil Wayne to me, and I'll never give him that credit. But Drake
yeah,
is like arguably next to Taylor Swift the most popular artist on the fucking planet. And it's funny to see Wayne's reaction to that. Like he loves Drake and still champions him and still, wants him to be successful. And I don't think Birdman's reaction to that was the same. So I don't know. It would
yeah,
be interesting to see kind of where they're at.
yeah. They should. Have you ever seen the Beef DVDs? Have you heard of Beef ever?
No.
So there, this is I guess history lesson. There was DVDs. I would say probably early 2000s, probably 2003 to 2006, 7 ish, maybe. I don't know. It'd be interesting to look up. But there were these DVDs. They were called Beef, and all it was like these little chapters that would highlight feuds in hip hop. So, dude, I will go digging and see, because I probably at least have one of them. But if I find the files, I'll send them to you. But that would be interesting to see something resurge like that. Um,
Yeah.
they're like little mini docs on just the feuds in hip hop. It was interesting
Yeah.
stuff.
100%. Okay. Before we get into rankings, I want to talk
Yeah.
about something that is extremely, extremely important to me and widely debated. Which one, Anthony? You have to take a stance right now.
Oh
You have to
shit!
decide.
All right.
Carter 2 or Carter 3. You have to give an answer, and
Damn.
I will hold this to you for life. I need to
Shit.
know.
And let me ask you: was the Carter 3? That was the first review that y'all published on this podcast. Am I
It
right?
was. It
Okay.
was.
So
And
there's
we need to redo it, because that was like Christian didn't have a mic. He said that he had a mic. He lied to us, so he sounds like shit. Like we have to redo it,
yeah.
But that is the very
Oh
first
shit.
one that we ever did. And I think we touched a little bit
Yeah.
on this when we did it. So
Yeah.
what do you think?
So, all right, if you're making me put my foot in the ground, I'll say the Carter 3. And as much as I want to say the Carter 2, the Carter 3 just it over delivers, you know. And I think, but a lot of the Carter 3, like you mentioned, is a byproduct of the Carter 2. Like the Carter 2's put him in that place to say, look, this dude is going to deliver regardless of whatever beat you put on in front of him. He will handle it. And the Carter 3 shows that.
Yeah.
So if you're asking me to pick between the two, that's what I'll pick. But this one's not far behind. I'd be interested to see my rating on the Carter 3.
That's super fair. Yeah, I would be interested to see it too. It's funny, this debate comes up a lot, and I think like it has changed a lot with time. I think because the Carter 3 is a diamond record, right? It sold over 10 million copies. And when I was having this discussion with a friend of mine the other day, but like the Carter 3, it was like premium fucking gasoline to like the automobile industry. It was like at a time where hip hop needed something like the Carter 3, and it came out and it just was like fucking fire was created. And I think at that time, if you ask anybody 2008 to 2015, is there a more monumental hip hop album? It would be hard to argue that there was anything more substantial than the Carter 3. At least that is my stance, and still is my stance to this day. And we've talked about this a lot. I think the Carter 2 is a better album, but I think the Carter 3, I like the Carter 3 more. I just do.
Yeah.
Like, I think because partially from my nostalgia, partially from it getting me into hip hop, partially from the fact that the Carter 2 is for real hip hop heads. It's straight rap music. It's hip hop music.
Right.
And the Carter 3 has a bit of everything in it. There's Lollipop, which is a fucking pop song, and Lollipop took off like fucking fire. Like, and so I think comparing the two is kind of like apples to oranges, but I have to bring it up because I feel that debate kind of happens pretty often between these two albums, because it's funny. He's such a good artist that it's hard to compare his albums because you don't want to call one worse than the other. Like,
no,
because it doesn't really, it doesn't really work that way, you know. But it's still
like both of them stand head and shoulders above, you know, majority of other hip hop albums out there. And I'm flipping back and forth between the track list because, ironically, I have the Carter 3. I have a little notebook that I do all the album reviews in, and
nice.
The Carter 3 is the first one. And going down that list, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. I mean,
yeah, dude. Yeah, what's funny with that, like in the Carter 3, we talked about this on that episode, but when the Carter 3 first shipped, I have a friend of mine he's 24, so he was a lot younger than me when that came out. I say a lot. It's fucking 4 years. It's not a lot, but
still, he's like
he's in kindergarten. Know that when it first came out, like Playing with Fire was over Pussy Monster, and Pussy Monster is like a filler track on that album now. But Playing with Fire is one of the best Lil Wayne songs ever, like arguably ever. And so with Playing with Fire on there, Carter 3 is just chef's kiss, fucking 10 out of 10 to me, dude. So it's I don't know, it's just funny to see where people are at. Okay, so final. Oh wait, let's do. So Pitchfork.
Oh yeah, give me that.
8.1 out of 10, which I think surprisingly is pretty fair. The headline is. Yeah, veteran rapper breaks from Manny Fresh and grows up quickly, displaying a flexible flow and more layered lyrics, which I think is accurate. And then Rolling Stone, 3.5 out of 5. So I think those are pretty fair. I mean, I think 3.5 out of 5 is a little low, but you know, I understand. So they're not a hip hop publication, so it is what it is. But what do you think? Yeah. What is your rating for it?
So. Yeah, in comparison to the Carter 3, you know, it's hard to you know, stack them up. But this one resonates with me. Like I said, after listening back, you know, however many. So what is this? Almost 18 years later, about to be 20 years old, which is crazy.
It was actually the 18-year anniversary last week, which is why we decided to do it. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. So just going off of that, dude, I gave it a 8.5 out of 10. That was my rating. Like I said, there were a couple tracks that it's just samples, you know, and like I said, Wayne could choose any samples and crush it. So like, if I'm going off of Wayne himself, give me a acapella, the Carter 2 version. That would be interesting as fuck to hear. It'd be 10 out of 10, but I'll go 8.5 just from lack of liking all of the songs that were there.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. I got to give it a 9, man. I think it's like going back. I was surprised going back and re-listening to it how much I liked it, and I was surprised. I wasn't surprised in the sense that Lil Wayne is. I know that Eminem has been my most listened to artist the past 6 years in a row, but Lil Wayne is my favorite rapper. Like, he will always be my favorite rapper, and I just have a special place in my heart for Wayne. So even Wayne's bad projects, I ride or die by them. I will not let people tell me they're bad. I'm like, no, you just don't understand the fucking vision, bro. You don't give it some time. Yeah, give it some time, and it'll come back. So yeah, 9, man. This is a great album through and through, front to back. So shout out to Lil Wayne.
I got a question for you on Wayne before we get out of here, or we transition to a different topic. But like, have you seen Wayne live? And if so, where and when?
I have. So it's really funny you asked that, because I remember. So I saw him in L.A. I saw him at Camp Flognaw, Tyler the Creator's Festival, and I remember at that point, this was 2018, I think, or it might have been 2017. And at that point, I don't know how many concerts I had seen. I think now at this point, I was actually going back and trying to rack my brain. I think I've seen over 1,000 concerts at this point. Like, if you count all the Nectar shows, all the Dead shows, all the festivals, all that shit, I think I've seen over 1,000. And at that point, I remember telling myself, like, if I could just see Lil Wayne, like, that's the one artist I hadn't seen. Like, that's all I need. If I see him, and then for whatever reason something happens, I never see another show again, I'll be content with it. And we saw him in LA for that festival, and I was with people that didn't really love Lil Wayne the way that I did. I was with John and Zach and Randy and all them, and you know, Randy and Jalen are Lil Wayne fans, but like, it was just this. They talk about core memories. It was, I can picture exactly where I was in the crowd. I remember like seeing him. I remember the experience, and like, I remember leaving and being like, if I never see another show again, I will be happy with it. Like, that was, and I still tell people to this day, I'm like, after I saw Wayne, everything after that was just like just topping on the ice cream, man. That was all I wanted to see. And it was funny because Wayne is so like old school, like 90s, right? He came out with like 17 people on stage, and like, it was just ridiculous. Like, it was way over the top, but like, it was still a great time. He played a Millie. He played a bunch of great songs, and so it was a blast. And I know you saw him at Bonnaroo, correct?
Yeah. So
you gotta tell this story.
Yeah. So this is 2011 Bonnaroo, their 10-year anniversary, my first festival ever. And the lineup is insane. You go look back at that lineup, and you have
fucking crazy,
you
dude.
have Wayne, you have Wiz, you have Bass Sector, you have Pretty Lights, you have who knows else. But my experience is so, it's such a learning experience. I'll start with that, but also such a sad experience because so I think it was there was scheduling conflicts between Bass Sector and Lil Wayne, and me being who I was like all about Wayne, and I hadn't seen Bass Sector yet. I hadn't even seen Pretty Lights yet, I don't believe. No, I had seen Pretty Lights, but I hadn't seen Bass Sector, and so I had choices to make. And I said, you know, Wayne is what brought me to this festival, and that's who I'm going to go see. And it being my first festival and being, 19 years old, young Anthony gets real fucked up. And I also end up going to Wayne by myself, because everyone else, your sister included, they're all going to see Bass Sector and Pretty Lights. So like, thinking now off of however many Bass Sector shows I've seen, I didn't see that one because I went to go see Wayne. And so I get myself way up in the crowd, towards the probably middle-ish of the Bonnaroo crowd, which is a sea of people.
Thick as fuck, yeah.
And I'm there, and I'm waiting, and I'm drinking, and I'm smoking, and I'm good until I stand up off the ground. And I stand up and I look, and I don't see an end in any direction of where I'm looking. So I just start spinning, and I'm like, yo, I got to walk that way. So I just get up and walk to the very back of the crowd. And that's really, I don't remember much. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm telling you. And that was like, again, like, you know me now, and going to shows, and I'm like very responsible and very much like conscious and aware of everybody and of everything. And like, it's just amazing to look back and have had that experience in that environment, but that's the thing. I learned so much then. I learned that, like, you got to have your priorities in check. It's not about getting as fucked up as you can get. It's about remembering and making memories. Like you said, you have a vivid memory of that experience in your mind, and I have a vivid memory of it. It's just a whole different lens. It's
Yeah,
more of
it's not the memory you
like,
wanted.
definitely not. And like, see, and it didn't ruin anything for me. I still had an amazing time, but I have a story to tell, and it's more of like a cautionary tale, I guess. But like, it was something that, like, I can always hold my hat on. Like, Wayne brought me there, and like that Bonnaroo experience definitely changed me as a human and as a music goer. But yeah, definitely be responsible, especially in the Tennessee farm area in the middle of the summer when you're in a mob of people. So, and people were
Yeah.
taking care of each other, So I can remember people being like, "Yo, you're all right," and me just going, "Oh, I'm good. I'm just going. I'm just
I just
going."
gotta get the fuck out of here, man.
Just point me in
Whatever
the right direction.
direction is not here, dude.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's my Wayne experience, and I would love to see him live again. I don't believe I've seen him since then, so I
Yeah,
definitely should.
it's funny that you say that because every time, like, I knew the story of it. What's funny is I have told people your story before. Like, we have talked about festivals and shit, and like this past year, I went to these past 2 years, I've been to Bonnaroo with people that have never been to any festival, and I had and hadn't been to Bonnaroo, and I tell the story constantly. I'm like, you want to hear a schedule conflict? If you guys are bitching about schedule conflicts, let me tell you about Anthony's schedule conflict. Pretty Light, Space Center, and Lil Wayne. Like, what is your fucking choice there?
Right.
And I didn't know, like, I knew that you didn't have a great experience, but to me, I always thought it was because you missed Bass Nectar. Like, now being such a bass head, but now learning that
Yeah.
was not the core
No, the
cause
core
of.
was like, not a lot of music went in my ears that night. It was more of just a blur, and like I said, though, that is one thing that I'll forever take with me is like, when you're with people, take care of each other. And if you have friends that want to go see a show, but they're getting a little out of hand, you don't think they're going to make it to their show, let them know, because I've heard that story, regurgitated in so many different ways from so many different people of missing shows that they wanted to see because they were too
Yeah.
fucked up. And like, I tried to express to them, that was me. And like, I didn't just miss Wayne. I miss Wayne and Bass Nectar and Pretty Lights playing till the sunrise in
Yeah.
Bonner. Probably Sound Tribe was playing that night too. So it's like, it could be worse.
Yeah.
So take it from me, and like, just, you
No, for
realize you don't
sure.
have to get as fucked up as you might think to enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it's like, Bonner this past year, we were all like, I think it was Friday night or maybe it was Saturday night, I can't remember, but we knew it was going to be a long stretch, and the end of it was STS9 playing 2:30 to however late they were going to fucking go.
Right.
And we all like were in the mindset of we're going to make it, like we're gonna make it to this show. And I think like just throughout the day, like to make it to that point, especially now that we're almost fucking 30 because we're old as shit, like
Bro, I'm 30.
that is a task, man. And
Yeah.
like I remember, like I have a video on my phone, and I remember it too of us leaving one show and going to STS9, and we're all like super stoked for it. But I also remember taking a nap during STS9 because I couldn't fucking do it, man. Like, and it wasn't that I was overly fucked up. It was just the alcohol mixed with the fact that we've been out all day, walking,
Yeah.
partying, watching shows all day. And like, it gets to a point where you're like, I physically cannot do
Yeah.
this
Exactly.
anymore.
Your body has limits,
Yeah, and it's like it's time for you to call it, man. Like when you were
Hmm.
19, it's one thing, but when you're 28 years old, like it's time to call it. So,
Yeah.
but
And
yeah, interesting story.
Bonner is a great test, I think, for a lot of people, and especially, being from the South, there's not, or at least back then, there was not a lot of options for festivals, at least, within our price range and driving range. But Bonner being right there, and it being such a elemental festival, with the heat, with the lack of shade, with the, just like the sheer amount of people that are there, it is a definite test for a lot of people. And that's something that like I've been back since, multiple times. And like now I can see, what I was experiencing back then. It's no joke, and that's
Yeah,
where when you have a good group of people that can take care of each other, it
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 goes a
makes
long
for
way.
such a better experience. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. All
Yeah.
right, so rides or dies. You can intro your track first. What do you got for the people?
Okay. Yeah. So my track, it's a track by Humphreys McGee, and I'm not a huge Humphreys McGee head, as in like I'm not very versed in their music, but getting to see them live, first off, they do what I'm a huge admirer of, is they allow fans to purchase certain types of access to wireless headphones that stream direct audio from the soundboard during the set, which is so fucking cool.
Interesting. I did not know
Yeah,
that.
I don't know anyone else that does it. I don't know why other artists don't do it, but it's such a amazing experience because I mean, even just we have headphones on right now. You're so dialed in, and at a set, I mean, I'm dialed in regardless. But like when you're submersed in that music live, it is something else to experience. So I love that they do that. But this song in particular, it's a song that they played in Birmingham this past year when they came, and middle of the set they play this track and I'm fucking vibing out. I'm like, this is a whole different angle that I've not heard from Humphreys before. At least, like I said, I'm not super versed, but it sounds novel to me. But a track called Staircase, and it is the reason why I wanted to put it as a ride or die is because it's not on any albums to my knowledge. I think it just got released this past year, and it's a fucking banger. And also, it was it was the number one track on the Spotify Wrapped listens.
Really?
So I figured,
Oh
yeah, dude. I mean,
shit.
like that's the thing. This song is addicting, and there's an instrumental track with it on Spotify. So I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I couldn't get enough of it. But like, it was the only. I don't have a lot of listens on Spotify because it's not my primary listening platform, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But this song is only available on Spotify, and I haven't really dug into how to rip songs from Spotify, so I don't own a copy of this
Yeah.
song. But shit, if I did, my Spotify plays would go down. But dude, this song is a
Yeah.
banger.
Yeah. I gotta say, I'm very much the same as you. I'm not like I every time it's weird. Every time I've seen Humphreys, I've enjoyed it. I've
Right,
had a great time. I've seen him, I don't know, probably 10 times, honestly, like throughout. And I've never gone and seen an Humphreys show. I've seen him at Hangout. I've seen him at Bonnaroo. I've seen him at whatever, whatever festival I'm at. And I've seen him at Bonnaroo a number of times. I always have a great time. I feel like they're a lot heavier of a jam band than any of the jam bands that I listen to. And so their live experiences are a lot of fun. But like, there's a lot of kids that roll with friends of mine that are huge Humphreys people and are
right.
obsessed with Humphreys. And I've never understood like that level of fascination and obsession with them, but I do enjoy them. And so when you sent the track, I was kind of like, fuck, man.
Right,
I
right.
don't know. Like,
Exactly.
I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but it was great. I had a great time listening to it, and like that breakdown, like when they kind of hit the, I guess you could call it a chorus. I don't know when it gets real heavy, kind of when they go
Hmm.
into those different sections. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was like it felt like a drop, like it was a
yeah.
drop, man,
It
and it like
builds.
kind of
Hmm.
yeah, and it kind of got me moving, and it was a lot of fun to listen to. So I enjoyed it. Like I got to give it a ride, and
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't have any like it's kind of like me with Tipper. Like I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. They're just kind of there, and I don't really understand the obsession, but I enjoy it whenever I'm like in it. And
right.
so yeah, I gotta give it a rides.
Yeah, and it was so crazy because I was leaving the show, and they played at Avondale, so it was outside. It was a really cool atmosphere. Leaving the show, I was convinced that I was never gonna find out what that song was or hear it again because I had asked a bunch of people around me, and they're like, "Yo, I've not heard this before. I don't know what it is." And then I think it was within the week or maybe within a few days from that show, they posted on their Facebook, new single, here it is, boom, Spotify. And then when I played it for the first time, I just got chills, and that's when
Nice.
fucking started looping, in my
Yeah,
rotation. So it was
that's fucking
it
sick.
was it was sick.
That's super sick.
All right, let's hear about yours.
Okay, so this this is real fucking throwback, but I was on the Lil Wayne kick. So Travis Barker, drummer of Blink-182, put out an album that is essentially a hip hop album that he curated. He kind of pulled the DJ Khaled, but a lot better than DJ Khaled. And so he plays drums over all the tracks. And so the track I picked was "Can a Drummer Get Some?" And it's Travis Barker, Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, Swizz Beatz in the game. So stacked fucking lineup. And I'm pretty sure it goes the game, Rick Ross, Wayne, if I can remember correctly. That may not be the exact order, but I told Trey had this in his. I hope Trey is listening. I don't know if he stopped listening to the podcast or not. Trey had this Hummer H2. Man, me and Trey picked it up one time. I remember listening to this album on the way to Auburn to go see my sister and go be irresponsible and do whatever the fuck we were doing in Auburn at the time as a young teenager with Trey as my escort at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but yeah, can a drummer get some? Like, I think all of them, Wayne, Ross, the game, they all have great verses. Travis Barker, like there's a point where they're like, "Can the drummer get some?" And he does a little like on the drums. Like it's a lot of fun. So I like the track. But what did you think?
I love this song. I mean, I love this album. This was one of the. I remember finding this when it came out, and I was just looking up the year. So 2011. So I must have been a sophomore or a freshman. Yeah, I love it. You know, I remember distinctly hearing like Travis Barker was coming out with an album, and back then I honestly wasn't very savvy as to who Travis Barker even was, you know, drummer, Blink-182, all this stuff. But when the album came out, I saw the first track featuring the dude, Wheezy F Baby. Please say that. But so I immediately downloaded it because I can't help myself. And listening to it, I was like, fuck yeah, this is sick. And then when you sent the Ride or Die track, I was like, oh yeah, he knows. He knows what's up.
Yeah,
so,
big throwback.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. All right, well, that was Roger Dies, everybody. Okay, on to the very last thing. It's time. I finally watched it. Throwback 3 weeks ago when you told me to watch it. I finally watched it 2 days ago.
Hell yeah.
The Killer. David Fincher, Michael Fassbender, Tilda Swinton. Let's fucking talk about it, man. You can say more now. I know you touched on it before, but what are your thoughts? Where do you rank it in the Fincherverse? Like, dude, well, just tell me about it.
So this is what I'm gonna read. I'm just gonna read my little review that I wrote in here. So I have a Letterboxd account. I know you have a Letterboxd account, and I don't premeditate. I just like to go stream of consciousness. After the film, I'll start writing or start texting it to myself. So this is my review. This movie killed, period. It was my type of experience. Enthralling and raw and gripping. Fincher put you in the driver's seat and drilled the mantra. Reznor and Ross delivered an experience. # industrial music. So excited to do it again. So this movie was fucking raw. This movie was fucking dirty. This movie was cyclical. You know, it felt like it kept drilling things into you over and over. But yeah, an experience was the best way that I could describe it because man, it was physical. You know, it was tense. It was stressful. It was fucking. I loved it.
Yeah, I think like you know. My favorite director ever, I go in with high expectations. And I think like the beginning is essentially a monologue for like, it's a while, man. It's like 10 minutes where nothing really happens. It's Fassbender and he's, you know, in his spot prepping for what is essentially the hit. And it's just him talking through kind of like his day-to-day, what's going on or whatever. And that we talked about this last time, but like there is a certain environment in that kind of builds in the service of anxiety. And I was like kind of frustrated at a point where I was like, what the fuck? Like, can something fucking happen here? But like at the same time, it was like I knew that there is a purpose to it because it was it made you anxious. And then there's the scene where the guy almost walks into the door and like that you're kind of like your heart is beating like what the fuck's about to happen, and then nothing happens, and it's like he's edging you. You're like, what the fuck, man?
Exactly. Yeah. It's
but I gotta say, I didn't expect I didn't know anything about the killer. I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't know anything about it. I knew Michael Fassbender was in it. I knew David Fincher directed it. And
Mm-hmm.
I assumed like it was about an assassin. But the direction that they go with it is completely out of left field. Basically, like
Right.
spoiler alert for people that haven't watched it. First off, go fucking watch it.
Yeah, go watch it right now.
But the fact that it's a botched hit that
Yeah.
spirals out of control is not something that I saw coming.
Me neither.
At
Me neither.
all, dude.
I was like, I can't wait for this shit. He's gonna fuck whoever this is up, you know? And then like it's like this oh shit moment. And then
Yeah.
the movie happens and I'm like, wow, this is he already caught me off guard and now I'm sucked in to
Yeah.
ride this out, you know?
Yeah, and I do like he did a really good job throughout the movie of building this kind of like it like escalates the further that it goes on. Like it keeps getting worse and worse for him.
Mhm.
Like everything is kind of ending up in the wrong spot, the wrong place, the wrong time. Like in the scene in Florida when he goes into the house, dude, was like I remember it like out loud. I was watching it with somebody. I remember being like, "Oh fuck, man."
Well, dude, it was such an interesting watch for me, you know, because I mentioned, you know, the last podcast. I guess we can say the last podcast, right?
Yeah.
that it had a lot of synchronicity to this Pretty Lights tour to me. So like Pretty Lights has been touring and they've been calling it the Swirl Bridge, you know, and it's been their kind of like their way of talking about jamming out or extending tracks, you know, or flipping tracks. But this movie had a lot of synchronicity. I can't help but find synchronicities in life. And that's like, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like I see patterns in so many different just things that I'm experiencing. And this was one. So like this movie, he repeats that mantra, you know, the pre-shot mantra often throughout the movie. And that felt swirling-esque to me, you know, things kept coming back, right? Also, the locations that he went to happened to be places that Pretty Lights has toured, you know? So like New Orleans, Florida with the Spanish Moss that they show, Chicago, New York. And I was just getting consistently mind blown every time he went to a new city. I was like, Jesus fuck. Like this is it's too weird to not notice. So that's why I had to bring that up.
Yeah, no, it is funny, and you know I know that you're obviously a big New Orleans guy for a number of reasons. But when he went to New Orleans, I was like, of course, Anthony would love this movie. Like he's in New Orleans,
exactly.
And I gotta say, like, shout out to Michael Fassbender, dude. That guy, even like, and he really doesn't do a lot of talking throughout the movie, but his mannerisms, the way that he moves, and like even there's a scene where he's driving in the car, like he's driving in the van, and he eats the prepackaged boiled egg, and then he takes a sip of his coffee, and he looks like robotic with it almost, the way that his body is moving. And I don't know if that's just Fassbender knowing how to do that, or if it's Fincher directing him to do it. Either way, like I think his character was like super fascinating. And I gotta say to you though, I don't understand the ending. I don't know how I feel about the ending. Like I
think I think that's why. I think that right there, that like kind of poof, kind of like way of just leaving things. It is like, I don't know. I think that's just it's such a like big dick director move to do that to an audience that's so drawn in and so sucked into this film to want to get you know, something delivered,
like a conclusion, like a solid
exactly
to it.
It's just kind of one of those things, you know. But
yeah,
like there's go ahead.
It reminds me a lot of the ending of The Sopranos. That was the first first correlation that I drew. Have you seen The Sopranos? Did you watch it?
I have not. No, it's just those things. It's one of those things that's just sitting right there. Whenever I want to go in, I just haven't gone in.
Yeah, it's very like the ending of this movie is like it draws a ton of parallels to me to the ending of The Sopranos. And so like, and I love The Sopranos and I love the ending. It's highly debated topic. Like some people hate it, some people love it, and so I liked it, but I was just like, I don't know. I guess I went in, and Fincher does that. I went in expecting one thing, and then it was the complete opposite. I was like, fuck, I guess I
Well,
just gotta
that's the
live with that,
thing.
man.
So there's two examples, the beginning and the end, that we both just, said he completely went in a different direction. And, that's a creative move. There's artists out there that will say, I will go against all, instinct to go in this direction just to do it that way. Right. And I
Yeah.
mean, and not a lot of directors can do that successfully, but he has proven, especially in this film, that he can, you can't expect where he's gonna go. So
No,
it, it,
100%.
it delivered. He delivered big time.
But yeah, it was great. I was really impressed, and I continue to be impressed by Netflix's ability to put the funding into get directors casting, set pieces, whatever they need to make a successful movie. And I think that's very, when you have a Netflix original, an HBO Max original, whatever it may be, you never know how that's going to play out.
Right.
But I think they really showcase like their ability to make a good film with this. So
Yeah. And just to let artists be artists, it's like they're. I don't know if I've heard this or if I've just speculated this, but I think that they do give. I mean, they give creative freedom to the directors, and say, it's not their place to manage the art. It's to be a platform for it, and
yeah.
I do appreciate them doing that. But I do wish I could see this in a theater. That's what I
Yeah,
would love to do.
dude,
Yeah,
a
I mean, like,
hundred
I think
percent.
there was either a small run of it in some theaters, but I didn't get to do that. But I would love to, because this is a physical movie. I mean, the tension that is being built in the score. Trent Reznor, from Nine Inch Nails, and Atticus Ross, they dude, every movie they touch, they did the score for the movie Soul, the Pixar movie. Fucking
Oh
amazing
yeah, yeah,
score. So like every film that they touch has this extra flair to it, and I think it definitely adds to the experience of this. But
yeah, a hundred
also shout out
percent.
to Michael Fassbender's character for listening to music on an iPod, dude, bringing it
Yeah,
back, and
dude.
that's
And did you
and,
notice how
hell
much
yeah.
the Smiths he played? I don't know if
I
you were
think it's
watching.
all the Smiths, and I don't
Yeah,
know the
it's
Smiths that well, but that's been a lot of people's responses, is just like the whole soundtrack is the Smiths, and I think that's
yeah,
what he's listening to, which it makes sense. We're in his head the whole movie,
yeah,
but I don't know the Smiths that well, and I'm excited to listen to them, but I don't know that didn't stick out to me. The score stuck out to me
yeah.
versus the Smiths' actual
Well, I
music.
know there's a conscious like effort and a reason why it's only the Smiths, but it's like I got to figure out what it is. I got
Well, I think
to
it's
try to
his
decode.
playlist. His playlist, what did he call it? The work playlist on the iPod,
Oh
is
yeah,
all the Smiths. So I mean, if that is his mind state, while he's working, then we're in that mind state for the
yeah,
duration of the film too.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
mean, just a great choice, to say this is going to be the score and the soundtrack to the film is what this guy's listening to, and most of the dialogue from that character is inner monologue,
yeah,
so that's another interesting just aspect to it. But yeah, you asked where this ranks for me and Fincher's works, and like it's hard because there are some films like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo that I've only seen once, I think, and Fight Club I've seen a ton. Seven I've seen a good bit, and it's like those four right there. I was trying to pull up his filmography. Those four really have had an impact on me personally, as far as
yeah,
from a film watching aspect. But like, dude has a fucking huge body of work, and it's like Wayne. I mean, it's like
yeah.
it's hard to
To
compare
stack
them
them
because they
against one
deliver
another.
so much. But like this one, I fucking really enjoyed this. Like having a first viewing like that was really fun.
Yeah. No, I gotta go back and rewatch it again, and
Yeah,
I watched it with somebody this time, and like I want to go back and watch it just by myself in the dark, lights out. Let me
yeah,
just not have
yeah.
Jinx with
Fuck
me,
yeah.
no distractions whatsoever,
Hmm.
just like kind of embrace it. And I think I'll have like a new light to shine on it. But it's been, it was a blast, and like the girl with the dragon tattoo, I don't know. It's hard to pick a favorite Fincher movie, but like I love
Right.
that book, and so that movie to me is super special. But yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. It's hard to fucking rank them.
He
So
really does this raw. he really has a good knack of displaying that raw emotion, good and bad, and it just, I don't know, it translates really well. But like then he also does like Social Network and Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Mank. Like I watched Mank last year on that came out on Netflix or whatever it came out. And that's a whole different vibe, It's like
Yeah.
not even in the same realm as The Killer, but coming from the same director, it really shows diversity too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited for
100%.
whatever he does next, whatever he decides to do.
For sure.
So
Well, we're at an hour and 10, Anthony.
hey,
I'm proud of us. I'm shocked. We made it this long with two people. That's fucking crazy, dude. Like
we can ride. It was like
it was.
what was that? 10,000 bars. Here you
Yeah,
go.
this is our 10,000 hours. We got the lighter flicking everything, dude. So
Fuck,
we're ready to go. Well, thanks for coming on, man. It was a blast.
sure.
Obviously, I love having a Wayne and Fincher head join me. So it's really not very critical of us. It's kind of just us talking about how much we love them. But whatever, man. I'll
Hey,
fucking take that. It is
exactly,
what it is.
exactly. Fuck
All
yeah.
right, man. I will talk to you later. We'll do it again sometime very
Thank you
soon.
for having me, man.
You-
Anytime, I'm down. So see y'all
yes,
soon.
sir.
Next week, maybe. We'll see.
We'll
Y'all,
see. We'll see.
yeah. Bring it back.
See ya.
See you, man. Peace.